Dr. Veronica Isagui is your host for Authors Forum.
Welcome to the Authors Forum. I'm your host, Dr. Veronica Isagui. My guest today is Jean Sheldon, and she is the author of two fiction mystery books, The Woman in the Wing and 7 Cities of Greed. Welcome to the Authors Forum.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I've always been creative. That's something that's been a part of me for as long as I can remember. But to sit down and write 70 to 100,000 words, I didn't think I could do it.
You just started little by little, right?
But it came, and when it came, and the characters came, and they seemed to develop themselves, and then they seemed to write the story, and I was just paid labor. I would just...
That's exactly how I feel when I'm writing. It's just amazing, isn't it?
It is.
But how many pages would you write a day?
I don't think I had any kind of a...
You just whenever...
Just whenever I had time, yeah.
And then you just took off from there, or did you go back to the beginning and start writing more?
I generally wrote about 50 to 60,000 words and then started over again and then went through it again. So I got the basic story and then went through it again.
I love this book. It's called The Woman in the Wing by Jean Sheldon. Where did The Woman in the Wing, where did it happen here in the United States, the story?
The only WASP training base was in Sweetwater, Texas. That was the only. I made up one in Chicago. The airplane plant that they're working in was Douglas outside of Chicago, and that was real. That's what is O'Hare today. During World War II, that was Douglas Aircraft.
So how did you do the research for this book?
I came across the WASP when I was researching something else, and I came across an article about the pilots, and I was surprised because I'd never heard anything about them before. And it was, how come I didn't hear anything about them before?
Yeah.
Why? And women are generally a footnote in history, but they were even more of a footnote because after the program closed, they took all the papers and files and put them in the Pentagon for 35 years and sealed it, and it became classified information.
Why was that?
Whatever, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea why, but so when people were writing the history, when people were writing about World War II, that was classified and they couldn't write about it, so nobody heard about the WASP.
There was something here that I learned in this book, and so this is like fiction, but it's fiction, historical fiction.
It's historical fiction.
Yeah, because I read something here that I wasn't aware of it, that when something happened to the women, they didn't even get burial money.
Right.
The girls collected the money from each other just to pay for the funeral expenses.
They were considered civilians, and so when 38 pilots died in the 3 years that they ferried airplanes, 38 women died flying planes. And the Army said they were civilians, and so therefore they had to pay their own way. The women made collections and then took whatever money they made and took the pilots home to their families.
You had to do a lot of research.
I did a lot of research. It was wonderful, though. You can the internet has got so much information on it now. It's so you can read about individual pilots that are still alive today that tell you about their excitement. And what's amazing is they write about those 3 years that they spent in the WASP as the most important, exciting time of their lives.
Wow.
So, and they just, they loved it.
But why a book about women in plane
Actually, after I started finding out the information, I wanted to do the mystery about them to get more information out there so more people knew. I think it's really dangerous to hide things in history.
So you were telling me that you were originally from Chicago.
Right.
So what took you from Chicago to, you went somewhere else here to Oregon, or?
I went to New Mexico
New
for
Mexico.
25 years. Yeah.
And what got you to go to New Mexico?
I wanted to see it. I wanted to try it, and I was a city kid, and I needed something very different, and that was very different.
Wow.
What an
it's definitely different.
Yeah. One of the first things I ran into was a 7-foot snake. And it scared the heck out of me. And the local people were like, "Well, that's a bull snake. That's not going to bother you." I'm like, "It's a 7-foot snake."
Not in your apartment or home, was
it? No.
Okay. One question: I noticed that both books are about mystery and adventure in many ways. Is that part of you that wants to have adventure in your life?
I want a life, yes.
So you were able to travel into the... Okay, because we all have a little bit of that ourselves.
Right.
I don't know anyone that doesn't like adventure and mystery and so on, and you can create your own. Right. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was July 1944, the engine of an A-24 diver bomber burst into flames as a member of the Women Air Force Service Pilots struggles to land. And that's, if you want to know more about it, you have to get the book. And the name of your website once again?
JeanSheldon.com. This is also available in audio, as an audio book. And the actress who performed it is from Eugene, Oregon, Judith Sparky Roberts, and she's wonderful. I was amazed when I heard her and all the voices that she did. She did all the men and all the women, and she didn't read it, she performed it, and it's just phenomenal. And they can find that on my website.
On your website?
Too, and,
that's great. Okay. So now, 7 Cities of Greed. Why 7, not 5 or 4 or 3 or 2? Is that like a lucky number?
Yeah, well, 7's a lucky number, sure. But actually that's based on the myth of the 7 cities of gold. And the 7 cities of gold started in the early 8th century when the Moors invaded Spain. And it's said that 7 bishops and a few select people were able to escape from your birth town, Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal, yeah.
Yeah, on ships filled with gold and gems and things like that. And they were supposed to land on an island in the Atlantic called Antilles, but by 1500, when the Christians had reclaimed Spain and Portugal and dominated the seas, they hadn't found the island. So the Spaniards started to think, well, you know what, maybe they made it all the way across the Atlantic like we did to this new world, and that's where they are. So, and they believe that even more when Cortez took Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, because they found a bunch of gold there. So they did an expedition to what is now New Mexico and Arizona, and looked for the 7 cities of Cibola up there. History tells us they didn't find it. They didn't find any cities. So that's all fact, though. That's all that I could research. The fiction in the book, in the story, starts when one of our protagonists, who are a group of women of a certain age, finds...
That's what I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, for the audience to know, these are not the usual Hollywood beauty 21-year-olds that are going on a search, you know.
Right.
These are like menopause women.
Right.
I love that.
The reason I did that was because I figured if I could do it, they could do it, so I could write about it.
Exactly. What made you pick those women, that age, that group of people versus
well, because I think that there should be, you know, I'm 59 now and still doing a lot of things, and they say that 60 is the new 40 or whatever. But
yes, I agree.
You know, and we do lots and lots of stuff, and unfortunately we don't see very much of it. So I thought, what the heck, I'm writing the book.
Yeah, you're the storyteller.
They're going to be old enough.
You're the storyteller. I love that. You know, are you a history buff?
Well, I sure am now. I wasn't so much before I started writing.
This book, you wrote it.
Boy, I just love. Yeah, I do love it now. And I find whatever book I'm doing now, I want to research the history, even if there's a little mention of something that happened, you know, 100 years ago. I go looking for it to see. And I swear the characters write it. I do.
This is not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
This is amazing. A lot of fiction writers tell me that they just start writing and then they grow.
And
they become alive.
And they become themselves. Yeah, because people will ask, you know, which person is you, or, you know, and it's like, I'm probably in all of them in some way, but mostly they're themselves.
They're just telling you where to go, what to do. And
always
so
telling me where to go, what to do.
Right. So are there any plans for future publications?
I hope to have 2 more out this year. I think I'm being a little bit too optimistic, but...
Yes, tell us a little bit more about it. Are they mysteries?
2 more
An
mysteries.
Adventure?
Yes.
Good.
Actually, the next one, which is called Flowers for Her Grave, is a real whodunit. It's a real kind of old-fashioned whodunit that takes place in a small town in Illinois. And they're all fun. And then the one after that is called Monet's Palette, and that's about art history and art forgery. And that's going to be a good mystery, too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Jean, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
Really briefly, I was 53 when I started writing, and I thought, you know, this is really neat for when your life is supposed to be kind of slowing down and stopping. What a neat opportunity for it to start growing and changing like it has. And I really think if you want to do something, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. It was great fun.
Until the next Authors Forum, have a most inspiring week.